Shall we start, Professor?
Yes, welcome.
Professor,
Yes, welcome, sir.
good afternoon to you all.
Yes, Professor.
Now may I request and invite Dr. Nedmaran sir to deliver the formal welcome address. Please, sir.
Okay. Good afternoon, one and all. Most respected and honorable member of syndicate and Vice Chancellor, officiating committee member, head of the Department of Commerce, Dr. Gurumurthy sir. Most respected faculty friends, most respected today's resource person, our good friend, a very eminent professor, Dr. Vedirajan sir. Sir, our professor today's resource person, Dr. Vedirajan sir, is an eminent professor. He's a presently, sir is a present head department of corporate secretaryship. Sir has occupied various capacity in our university, academic as well as the administrative side. Sir has published more number of more than 125 articles published in national and international journals. Sir has occupied. Sir has participated many programs, national and international level. Sir has visited many universities as a resource person and visiting professor in international level and national level. He's a very eminent professor. He's a very good teacher, a renowned scholar. He's a. We proudly introduce and welcome our resource person, Dr. Vedirajan sir, to this afternoon session. I welcome all the dignitaries and my dear scholars and participants. Welcome to the afternoon session. Welcome one and all on behalf of the Department of Commerce and my own behalf. Welcome one and all. Welcome to this FDP program. Thank you. Now I request Dr. Vedirajan sir to deliver a special address.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Now the session is handed over to the resource person, Professor Vedirajan sir. Sir, it's over to you, sir. CV sir.
Sir, please, sir. They are preparing a PPT, sir. Bear with us. Few minutes, sir. Few minutes, sir. The participants, please. Few minutes, please.
So good afternoon to everybody. Is it audible?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Audible,
Thank
sir.
you. Thank you very much.
Welcome, sir.
I am very much thankful to Professor G. Nedmaran. It's a brief introduction about me. Most respected the director of ICSSR project workshop on data analysis and research methodology in social science. And respected deputy coordinator of this program and the process of Department of Art and Commerce, Professor G. Nedmaran, Professor Pranapati and all other faculty colleagues of the Department of Commerce and the participants from these various parts of the country, and hope they are learning more. Last 1 week, I am very much thankful to the university authorities as well as the Department of Commerce and the director and coordinator of this program for giving me opportunity this online portal to deliver this hypothesis testing. With regard to this research methodology and the methodology for that purpose, why these scholars, learners, teachers moving to this the part of hypothetical concern. Before going to do for that, we have some kind of analytical. Before the knowledge of hypothesis, we cannot to arrive. With the help of these objectives, before that, the formulation of hypothesis as of this selected problem, and before we can to select the topic or title, then we have some kind of problems. How they are going to solve the problem? Only this is a good cost of hypothesis. See, each and every aspect, either in scientific manner or exploratory manner or maybe pure research or historical research, exploratory research, empirical study, and how we are going to prove the ultimate result only through this hypothesis. Whether you have to test the hypothesis, but normally you have, because this is an important steps in the process of formulation of research problem. How you are going to identify the problem? Yes, nowadays, n number of research in social science, invariably, then you have to identify the problems. How you are going to solve the problems? Because initially it is very vague. Then we have some kind of questions we have to study. See how we are going to solve the problems. But the questions may not be clear. The answer may not be solved. So the questions and solving the problem, we have to want these researchers ultimately, and because some factors may not be known, we should have some keen observations. We have to some keen observation as well as the creative thinking, and we have some kind of imagination for any type of research. We have some work-life balance, some CSR activities, latest goods and service tax, and some kind of environmental act, and some stress management, financial aspects, marketing aspects, HR aspects. But we have some kind of vision and creative thinkings alone. We have some kind of social science. We have some innovations, and only we have some kind of insight and sound judgment. It is required for because of this is the intensity of the research. Normally, some of these experts explain the formulation of selected problems, but I have some kind of things is required before going to this hypothesis. So how we are going to arrive the hypothesis? Before the hypothesis, all the research scholar and teachers are participating in this online portal. It is a very simple thing. We have a hypothesis. We have two parts, two words, namely typo plus thesis. Typo, thesis. So typo means tentative or subjective to the verification. Tentatively. How we are going to obtain for tentatively? You know very well for kind of assumption. What assumption? It may for 1% level significant, or it may for 5% level significant. We have moved for some assumptions, but it is not for standard. Hypothesis is only for assumption. That is called as a tentative. That is called a tentative. Sorry for disturbance. Please hold on, sir. Some problem for error. again to the cinema because
ಎಂಟೇ ಸ್ಕ್ರೀನ್ ಜೊತೆ ಒಳಗೆ ಬರ್ಬೇಕು ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ರೈತರು ಅಂತಾರೆ
That's okay. Why is that?
now it's okay, yeah.
It will be pretty okay.
What's moving to 5 minutes?
Excellent, excellent, professor. Excellent.
Yes. So this is we have. Can you check it?
The PPT is not visible, sir.
Yes, sir. We have 5 minutes going on that after. Okay. Sorry for that. Yes. Good. Because it's required any things we have required for sound judgment. As a social science researcher, you have to prove your judgment, sound judgment, and it has to be given to the policy makers, that is government. It depends. That is called managerial implications of the research. Only because of that hypothesis. Everything should have. So we have 2 coins, hypo plus thesis. So hypo means is a tentative or subjective of the verification. It may be only for tentative or subjective verification. Why I am saying this is tentative and subjectivity of the verification. We have to, because of 2 important things. 2 types of things we have to require. We have, it may be one type of error, another one 2 type of errors. We have. I think this is moved to this type of testing 2. Before that, we have some kind of conceptual knowledge about this hypothesis. So we have to study for before that we have a 1% level significance that is called 1.98, then 5% significance that is called 2.58. We have to some kind of formulations. How you are going to identify these things? Then you have to do for some kind of energies is required because of this what it says that 1.96. That is we have. Then we have to see that 5% level 2.58. 2 things, 1 type of error. Automatically we have to find this. So this is we required. For this thesis means statement about solution of the problem. Some disturbance. So this is we have to have a hypothesis. Hypothesis a tentative or subjective to the verification. Thesis means that Vinayamurthy is disturbing somebody.
Dear participants, please mute your microphone, please.
So this means we have thesis means a statement about solution of the problem. So the hypothesis is a specific testable predictions. So it may be for descripts in concentrated terms what you expect will happen in a certain circumstances. Normally, as a researcher, either maybe for maybe we have different types of hypotheses normally, but as a researcher, we have to use only for 2. Null hypothesis and known as alternative hypothesis. But we have a different n number of hypotheses we'll discuss later. So the thesis is the statement about solutions of the problem. What type of statement is required? So therefore, we are before that we have applied for this questionnaire. This is statement 5-point Likert scale, 7-point Likert scales. From this statement, we are, because this is a COVID-19 situation, whether you have some awareness about this vaccination, or whether it's already you have vaccinated, then which dose you are having pending. What is that remedies, remote after the dose? Somebody may say no, that after vaccination I have suffered high fever. So this is, but it depends upon this given body condition. So this is one kind of case, true or false. It may be correct or incorrect. It depends. So this is a statistical methodological part from this formation, and we have to using for some kind of observation. The observation, keen observation, and this is another kind of this I mean method of data collection information. Observing this keen observation. What is going on? It may be either be for a ear, eye, touching, seeing. Okay, so we required some kind of creativity, thinkings also.
The participants, please stay with us. Please stay with us, dear participants.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, ma'am. Due to network problem, few minutes, please wait.
Okay, sir.
Dear participants, please stay with us. Few minutes, please.
Okay, sir. Fine, sir.
Hello? 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 Kadavina is audible? Hello?
Audible, sir.
Okay, thank you,
Audible, sir.
thank you.
Audible, sir.
Thank
Audible,
you.
sir.
Yes, yes, okay, okay. Now we'll continue. Because of this, I'm connect internet problem. Okay. Uh, what's going on? Huh? இங்க போச்சு. என்னப்பா கஷ்டாவில் இருக்கு. இதை எடுத்து விட்டு போயிடாத. கம்முண்டு. அது பவர் இருக்காது. Right, right. I'll continue. Thank you, Tata Vinayamurthy. Right now is moving to for hypothesis is necessary or not. So we have a system like uh, uh, formulation of hypothesis. Uh, is the formulation of hypothesis is useful for this always necessary or possible or not? Is a question. Is necessary as possible or not? So it is true that hypothesis we have is required for useful for their they may to guide the research process. They may guide the research process. So process in this proper directions. It is required. So what this question is, please understand this question, is the formulation of useful hypothesis is always necessary and possible is a question. So it is true that hypotheses are useful and they guide the research, the process in the proper directions. But they can hypothesis be up, set up in all cases. Therefore, I am saying this as a researcher, as a research supervisor, we have to frame the hypothesis. क्या लिया? கேட்க மாட்டேங்களா? இப்படியா? இப்படியா? ஐயோ, கடவுள். பேஸ் முக்கியம் இல்லப்பா, அதெல்லாம் வந்து பேஸ்ட். So we have to find this hypothesis, like we have obtaining this part, we have to adapting is mere fact finding that because of investigation, mere fact finding investigation. As a researcher, you heard about this fact finding because of investigation. How we are going to investigate? This is for social science research. There are the way in which you have to be assessed through this statement of the problem, investigation. because of searching this information. Not only for that, any case, any kind of topic, the score competencies of this individual researcher, we have to find the proper direction in case is required. Fact finding investigations are required, and we have what you say that the problems we have to arrive. Some kind of problems is to be raised, some no problems has to be raised, and the need for formulating the hypothesis may not arise. Similarly, when we have to see that the exploratory studies, initially it may not be a possible to set up this hypothesis, but anyhow, any worthwhile this hypothesis, in fact, is every purpose and such exploratory studies we have to required for formulation of hypothesis is a meaningful one. So all the analytical and experimental studies, analytical as well as the experimental studies. Say in case of analytical research, with the help of this advanced statistical tools, apply for ANOVA factors, apply for that factor analysis, discriminatory analysis, parametric, non-parametric analysis, then analytical and experimental studies. We have, strictly speaking, there more fact-finding information, more fact-finding, and the exploratory studies we have to consider by way of typical research studies. So all the analytical as well as experimental studies, hypothesis should be set up in order to prove this proper directions to them. So we have to find. So this is necessary for that hypothesis is necessary. Hypothesis should be set up in order to give a proper direction. Because of with the help of this objectives, from these objectives you have to formulate the hypothesis. You know this very well. How we are going to finalize the hypothesis. Because it depends upon that the title of the thesis, then you have to frame the hypothesis, then we have to convert in this form of testing the hypothesis, some kind of assumption like. Because you have to study the geographical demographic variables of users of mobile phone, demographic variable of the users of mobile phone for to study or to examine the demographic variable and users of mobile phone. Some example we have to. So whether there is any relationship or it may be any difference or it may be any association between the demographic variables and mobile phone users. So this is a hypothesis we have to find this. Come to the next, the types of hypothesis. The hypothesis, types of hypothesis, we have to see that the types uh, hypotheses are classified or in several ways with reference to their functions. Hypotheses are of two types. We have descriptive hypothesis, uh, relational hypothesis. Another approach is to be classified in case of the working hypothesis, that is called null hypothesis, a statistical hypothesis. And the third approach is to divide them on the basis of the level of abstractions, and accordingly these types of hypothesis, common sense hypothesis, we have to fine tune the complex hypothesis, and we have to find the analysis part of this. We have to see analytical hypothesis. Let us see the one by one the descriptive hypothesis. These are this proposition that describes the characteristics, the characteristics of this particular industries or firm. It may be for such as the size of the firm or form or the distributions, descriptive natures. So this type of that proportions of this that characteristics of the variables. For example, when you study this system, we have to find that hypothesis where we have to applying for this on this capital structure, determinants of the capital structure of electronic industry, determination of capital structure of electronic industry, determination of capital structure and value of the firm. When you move into this finance area, what is the size, firm size, and profitability, as well as the leverage, tax shield, isn't it? From this variable, we have to find the analysis through this regression model, multiple regression model. So we have to find this regression model, then we have to obviously variables may be an object, it may be a person, or it may be organization, situation, or event. So capital structure and value of the firm of selected company, Indian companies. So when you talk about this, capital structure, we have to some kind of debt equity proportions, debt equity sources, isn't it? So from this that variable you have to rationally you have to find and analyze the rate in which it has to be used, or sometimes maybe for applying for some public enterprise, public sector organization. The organization we have to find enterprise are more amendable for centralized planning, amendable as well as centralized planning, and some kind of the rate of employment among this the rate of employment among the arts college students, that is arts graduates, science graduates, that science graduates and arts graduates is higher than that of commerce graduations. So because this is one kind of descriptive, how you have to describe that variables, what is the object, what is the person and organization. We have this some kind of situation or event. For example, the rate of employment among the art graduates higher than the science graduates, arts graduates lesser than the commerce graduates, or it means the rate of unemployment. Hello, the rate of unemployment. What level is it? என்ன பண்ணிக்கிட்டு இருக்கா அப்படியே கூப்பிடுப்பா என்ன பண்ணிட்டு. The rate of unemployment situations we have to find. Okay, so this is we have to no need to for that what is say that is there is no significant there is no second relationship, there's no significant difference, there's no significant between this variable, there is no association, no, not required. So we have find the hypothesis. For example, in descriptive hypothesis, as a scholars please understand, as a we have a different types of hypothesis, but we are focusing only for null hypothesis and alternative hypothesis. Am I right? There are n number of hypotheses. How many of you are aware? In case of descriptive hypothesis, that kind of proportions, that describe these characteristics. How we are going to describe the characteristics? By way of size, form, or distribution. So this is the variables. That variables may be an object, person, organization, situations, or event. So the quite example for this we have to, the educational system is not oriented to human resource needs of a country. This is one kind of descriptive hypothesis. The educational system is not oriented to human resource needs of a country. The rate of unemployment among the arts graduates is higher than that of commerce graduates. See that? So this is comes under the descriptive hypothesis. You have to frame the here there is no significant difference. Here there is no significant between. Here there is no significant association. Okay, the public enterprises are more amendable for centralized planning. So this is comes under this. What do you say this? Before that, we have some kind of hypothesis of difference, hypothesis of association, null hypothesis, and alternative hypothesis. We have to see, but this is most important point we have to touch upon. Descriptive. The next one, relational hypothesis. So these are propositions which describes the relationship between two variables. Relationship between, because of relational hypothesis, the relationship between two variables. The relationship suggested may be positive or negative. Positive or negative. Isn't it? Positive or negative. So this is, we have to find this hypothesis, we have to find either positive hypothesis or negative aspects. That is a correlation or causal relationship. For example, that is a correlation or causal relationship. For example, because of two or more variables, that is a relationship between two or more variables. So relationship between two or more. For example, income and expenditure, demand and supply, sales and advertisement, So that is a correlation. Supply and rainfall, Okay, demand and supply, price and quantity, That is a two variables. That is a relationship between two variables. The price and quantity, demand and supply, isn't it? Then sales and advertisement, isn't it? So this is comes under the, what is a relational hypothesis. So the families with the higher income spend more for recreation. Recreations. Families should have, upper class people have fewer children than lower class people. That is relationship between, that is comes under this relational hypothesis. Labor productivity decreases as working duration increases. Labor productivity decreases as working duration increases. Upper class people have fewer children than lower class people. So always upper class people are very, now things a little bit change. Even lower class people also, they have one child, one family. Therefore, I am saying hypothesis is always an assumption, not for permanent. It will keep on change. Over the period of time, it will change. So this family with the higher income spend more for recreations. So participative management promotes motivation among executives. Participative management promotes motivation among executives. Lower the rate of job turnover. Then lower rate of job turnover in a work group. The higher the work productivity. So the turnover is very less, automatically protection will be more. So this is a concept we have, relational hypothesis. See that. So as a researcher, what we are going to do for, we are always looking into this null hypothesis, alternate hypothesis. There is no significance. There is no association. There is no difference between. But whereas there are n number of studies we have to find, there is the most important. See, for this, what you say, the lower rate of job turnover in a work group. See, in this organization, people are working to study and analyze the people are working, the group of people working in the organization, to find out the rate of job turnover, to find out the rate of job turnover in this particular organization. What will the result? And also to identify the rate of productivity, the rate of productivity in this to work in this organization. So this is objective how we are going to frame the objectives. From these objectives, what you have to ascertain and frame this hypothesis. The lower the rate of job turnover in a work group. What does indicate? It indicates the higher the work productivity. The turnover is very less, the productivity is more. Isn't it? Vice versa. And the turnover of work groups is less, The productivity always should be increased, decreased and increased. Isn't it? That is a relationship between because of this rational hypothesis. Okay, so come to this causal hypothesis. Causal hypothesis. So the causal hypothesis, this we people should have for this that is called as is one that such that causal and effect relationship exists between variables. Cause and effect. Cause and effect relationship. So this most important of this cause and effect relationship. So we have or have or a change in this in one variable cause or lead to an effect or the another variables. For example, that is income and expenditure, cause and effect. For example, advertisement and sales, cause and effect. Cause and effect. What's the cause? You are spending more advertisement. What's the effect? Increasing. Sales is increasing. Volume is increasing. Okay. So that in terms of amount is increasing. So this is a cause and effect. Cause and effect. What's the cost? Turnover. The cause and effect is relationship. As students are very hard work students. What's the effect? Secured more mark. Heavy rainfall this particular period. Farmers are more happy because of, cultivations are more. Cultivations are more. Heavy rain. Cultivations are more. Farmers are more happy because you study the agricultural economy. Agriculturist economy. The size of the firms, the turnover is high. Turnover. Isn't it? Or there's input, then output is a more cause and effect. Input output relationship is a short run or long run process. And then we have to study about this share market, implied volatility of stock exchanges. Implied volatility of stock exchanges. Okay, so what will happen this? Due to this COVID period, what are the causes that facing this industry? What's the impact? What's the effect? Impact means what's the effect? Impact of labor turnover during the COVID period. Yes, the family will be suffered, child also to be suffered because of earnings will be less. Impact of labor turnover during the COVID-19. What does indicate the cause and the effect? So this is comes under the what is say causal hypothesis. Causal hypothesis, most important causal hypothesis. And then working hypothesis. Working hypothesis. So working hypothesis is a hypothesis that is professionally accepted as a basis for further research in the hope that tenable theory, it may be some theory will be produced even if the hypothesis ultimately fails. So this working hypothesis we have to find. Okay, so this working hypothesis which are subject to modifications as the investigation proceeds. So the working hypothesis is a study of the problem. Study of the problem. What you have to indicate to study of the problems. These hypotheses are formed. That hypotheses were formed. Initially, they may not be a very specific. It may not be very specific. Say for example, for this research, that subject to modifications. Subject to the hypothesis are subject to modifications, or it may be for a change. Tenable to theories may be changed. For all economic theories, classical theory, all classical theories are profit theories, or some kind of the theories we have that some economists, expert economics. There people are studying Malthusian theory of population, very old theory. Malthusian, now it is applicable. Not applicable. It will be because of it will be multilayered, mutilated for this population, not for that what is say numeric. That is called as we have multiplications of this part. Think banda. Meeting later juga. Think banda. Attend meeting later. So this is a theory which you have to adapt it for this purpose. Okay. So this is a theory we have. So this is comes under this. We have a tenable theories will be produced. Even if this hypothesis we have to form, for ultimately yes, we have to see that end results. Count is most important for this. What is say null hypothesis? Null hypothesis. Null hypothesis effectively starting that a quantity or interest is larger or equal or to 0 and smaller or equal to 0. So we have to study this statement of which we have to study this hypothesis we have. That is a difference exists between these parameters. What parameters you have to exist this and the statistics being compared to it. For example, even though there is a relationship between families' income level and expenditure on recreations. There is a relationship between family incomes. So when you're using for this relationship between this family income and this expenditure on recreations, or it may be for there is no relationship between the family's income level and expenditure on recreation. So this is we have null hypothesis are formatted for testing statistical significance. How we are going to test it? Statistical significance for applying for 5% level or 1.5% level or 1% level, 99% or 95%. Isn't it? That is the level of this region, level of the regions. It may be for 1.996. It is called, yes, isn't it? 1% level. Then we have 2.58. It is called 5% level, 95%. Why you are using for that? Because we will discuss later. That is a tier, one tier, two-tiled errors, or the type of the system we have to assess this next class. Type of testing 2. Now we are focusing on only for theory aspects. Most important theory aspects we are now focusing, and we have to see that some kind of statistical hypothesis. Hypothesis we have to test it through the significant level. Why we are applying for? Because that is a confidence level. That confidence level we have to what you say plus or minus. That region either may be reject region or accept region, and then we have to see that picture and all. We are finding this what do you say? This is that hypothesis, null hypothesis. As a type which has to be updated. Why and how you are going to do for that type of errors. Then we have to find this the hypothesis we have to setting and using this level with regard to this the hypothesis we have to apply invariably to test the logic manner in which you have to behind the testing of hypothesis because of some kind of significant level. Null hypothesis, type 2 error, type 1 error, then that is statistical hypothesis testing as the entire population is not measured directly. So the statistical test can never prove whether we have to find this null hypothesis is really or it may be actually the true or false. So this is the things we have to be show that this whether this sample results is sufficiently likely or unlikely. So to justify the decisions based on this sample evidence, maybe for you have to adapt adapt for either maybe reject or accept regions, because the null hypothesis can be actually true or false. Sometimes it may be true or false. For example, what you say that heavy rainfall, but you have a over cultivation. You assume that. Because of we are having heavy rainfall, we are getting more cultivations. Or is we have to see that heavy rainfall, but totally suffered. Farmers are totally suffered. So heavy rain, but we have a good cultivation. That is accepted. As a normally that hypothesis is accepted. We have the heavy rain, then we are getting a good quantum of cultivation. Heavy rain, but that totally is suffocated entire cultivation. Isn't it? Except sometimes may be result. So the null hypothesis, there is no significant difference between that heavy rain as well as the cultivations. Paddy cultivation or silly cultivation or cotton cultivation. It depends. A heavy rain, but is totally suffered this cotton, or maybe for silly, or maybe paddy, isn't it? So we have to see that that the null hypothesis either maybe the sample evidence to reject or it may be accept, because this null hypothesis can be actually maybe for true or false. If this null hypothesis which is actually true is rejected. Actually true is rejected because that is a cold wood. The study which has to be hold good. When you talk about this null hypothesis is actually is true, it is rejected. Null hypothesis is actually true, it is rejected. So such has to be reversed automatically. The decision based on this, what you say that the sample evidence. Sometimes it may be for wrong evidence. It may be for truthful evidence. It depends. Some may be for confused evidence because of all assumptions we are facing. Such an error is called type 1 error. Sometimes the type 1 error, you have to look into this at the theoretical for what do you say that non-values, non-full values, hypothesis for alternative. So when, please note down this research scholars, if the null hypothesis which is actually true is rejected. So this is the decision based on that sample evidence is wrong. Sample evidence is wrong. Such an error is called type 1 error. Then this null hypothesis is false, but is not rejected. True is rejected. False is not rejected means is accepted. So the null hypothesis is false. There is no significant difference. There is no significant difference. There is a significant difference between this what he called and then the income groups, income earners, income earners enjoy this their family life, isn't it? Whether the statement may be true or false, then that is case. This error is that null hypothesis is false, but it is not rejected. That is accepted. It depends always. What you say the calculated values of the calculated values is greater than the table value. That is called what is called calculated values is more than the table value. That is called is rejected. Okay, calculator value for maybe for 4.5, the table value for 2.58, as to assume that, then automatically is rejected. Isn't it? So that is a true values. Null hypothesis is true. Calculator value is less than the table value. It is this null hypothesis is false, but it is accepted. See that as a research college, please note on this. So when this null hypothesis is true, it is rejected. When null hypothesis is false, it is accepted. So this is for what we call to say there is a type 2 error. Type 2 error. So we have to exhibit and prohibit for this null hypothesis, for decision for reject and decision for accept. The null hypothesis for H naught. Then we have to assume that true and false. Then type 1 error. Then accept no error. Then false no error. Reject area, then accept area, type 2 error. So this is we have to find. Then because of the null hypothesis for type 1, type 2 error. So when you talk about this type 1 error, that H naught is rejected. when the hypotheses are rejected, okay, null hypotheses are true. True, yes, true. When these null hypotheses are true and hold good, there is no significant difference. Okay, so this is we have to find and we have to exemplary for if the null hypothesis we have to find and we have to adapting some kind of system, then we have to find these results. Then only you have to get this ultimate results. Then only you have to apply for this system. The calculator value is less than the table value. Calculator value is less than the table value. As I told, this hypothesis is accepted. Calculator value is less than the table value. This hypothesis are accepted. So therefore, that sample mean, that means does not differ significantly from the intended weight, intended case. So when the calculator value is less than the table value, the hypothesis is accepted. When this is accepted, that is called as rejected. Isn't it? So this is we have to find not on this calculator value is less than the table value, then we have to the less than table value, the hypothesis are accepted. When this accepted means the results are results of when this accepted means the results are the true, that is no error. The false means type 2 error, isn't it? So this is we have to adapting for this the null hypothesis. Normally we are using this thesis format, and we have some kind of significant level. How you are going to use it for significant level? It is most important. Significant level, we have to see that some kind of rejection region. When does the sample research justify the rejection of null hypothesis? Rejection of null hypothesis. When, please note on, when does the sample result justify the rejection of the null hypothesis? When you are going to reject the null hypothesis, so we have the result when it would not be result of chance. When it would not a result of chance. When you are to result of chance means that when it is highly improbable. Improbable. So that statisticians are generally we have to consider that this event of statistically improbable. So what is we have to say? We have to apply for either 5% level or maybe for 1% level because of these possible outcomes. So I told you this in the, already we have to inform this hypothesis or some assumptions, basically assumptions. Okay, solving the problems. Okay, as a statement, the solving the problems. So this is we have the possible outcomes. Either we can apply for the 5% level or to apply for 1% level. So 5% or 1% values define this proposition. Define this proposition of a sampling distributions. Okay, what is sampling distribution? What is sampling distribution? Proposition of the distribution is called. So this proposition of the distribution we have. So we have a 5% level or it may be 1% level. The value define this proposition of the distribution of distribution. We have defined these values. The value we have to find. Values you have to find what we called that propositions. Proposition we have to apply for this 5% level or 1% level. So this proportion of the distribution we have to see that the sampling distributions. What is sampling distribution? Sampling distribution is a probability distribution. Sampling distribution is a probability distribution of all possible values of statistics. May be taken on for a sample of given size from the population. Given size from the populations. So this sampling distribution is a probability distribution. Probability distribution of all the possible values, all the possible values of statistics, all the possible value of statistics. From this statistics of these populations what into? From this point, we have to assess these statistics may take on for a sample of given size from a population. So this is a sample distribution. Then then we have to that contain specific, then contain specified highly improbable outcomes. This proportion of the distribution, this proportion of distribution is called the region of rejection. So how you are going to region of rejection? The probable value of distributions. So and the 5% level, that is called 0.05, 5% level, and 1% level, that is called 0.01. So are called as the level of significance or level of confidence. We may use the level of significance, maybe use the level of confidence. 1% level, 5% level of significance, or level of confidence. So this is, we have to see that that projections maybe depends for the testing too, but moreover we have to see that. So there are level of probability at which the null hypothesis can be rejected with confidence. For example, 5% level of significance means that we are willing to reject the H naught, or the sample statistics occur by chance only 5%, chance for only five times, or less out of 100 times, 5 times or less out of 100 times. So the significant levels commonly used 0.001 or 0.01 or 0.05. So this is, we have to that H naught is willing to reject because of this 5% level significance, because of by chance. Say for example, we have we have coin. We have tossing the coin for 100 times. When you toss the coin for 100 times, it may be that the possible and probable outcomes are 20% hit, 80% time. So that is a probability distribution. Research scholars, please note, faculty colleagues, the probability distribution, sampling distribution is a probability distribution. What I'm saying is, for instance, as a coin, you have to toss. It may be for 100 times you have to toss. It may be what I'm saying 25% hit, 75% time. Okay, so this is, we have a system, we have a probable distribution. That probable distribution we have to find. Automatically we are getting the significant levels commonly used. The decision rules is specified in terms of a specific level of significance, If the obtained sample results falls within a specific region of rejections, a null hypothesis is rejected at that level of significance, So the rejection of the null hypothesis supports the research hypothesis. The rejection of the null hypothesis supports the research hypothesis. So this is, we have to understand this sampling distribution is a probability distribution. I am saying this, that the event, how many times you are tossed the coin. So this is all the possible values of statistics may take for a sample of a given size from a population. Okay, so 100 times you have to assume that 20%, 70%. Isn't it? This is the rejection region, like that. So you have to find this, what you have to adapt the significant levels. It maybe depends on this. Come to next, interpreting the significant levels. So the probability of rejecting a true hypothesis, sometimes maybe the true hypothesis, type 1 error, type 2 error is equivalent to the level of significance. So this research is employing this 5% level significance. I assume that at 5% probability of falsely rejecting the true null hypothesis. We have to see that sometimes maybe for hypothesis may be rejected by way of taking this spot. You have to the rejection where there is no significant difference between this sample statistics sometimes maybe and hypothetical population parameters sometimes maybe. We have to assume that 5% level significant. Note that 5% significant. Note that 2.5 of the area under this normal curve maybe depends. It depends, and also it's located in each tile, and 95%. The area under which this normal curve is covered by the interval exhibiting and extending 1.96 levels. Standard deviation is either what is standard deviation? Square root of the probable variables. And also you have to find this area we would accept the null hypothesis and the sample statistics of the population parameters. When you're talking about this system we have to adapting and taking this probable outcomes of the remaining 5% area, then we have to take the significant difference between this that exists of we should to accept or reject and this remaining 5% area. The significance between for this even the sample statistics we have false in this non-shaded region. Sometimes maybe that region and prove that H0 is this is for we have to see the type 1 type 2 error the shaded areas. That is non-shaded areas we have to accept H0 is true and but not prove statistics evidence to reject it. So this is we have to explain about this type 1 type 2 error. What do you about this statistical hypothesis? We have to statistical hypothesis we have to adapting for this that is testable on the basis of observed data model as to realized values taken by the collection of random variables. So we have to find this system set of data is model as being a realized value of collection of random variables having a joint probability distribution in some set of possible joint distribution. So this is a statistical hypothesis we have to adapting for this system and come to this next common size hypothesis. Common size hypothesis. So common sense hypothesis we have to adapt this represents the common sense ideas. This is normally we have the empirical studies and we are informative perceived through day-to-day observations and for students like these people are working a social background of workers and this behavior patterns for specific groups like students, shop assistants in small shop lack motivations and the patterns of a specific group like students, shop assistants in a small shop lack motivators. So this is comes under this common sense hypothesis and then complex hypothesis we have to find the system complex hypothesis. So complex hypothesis we have to see that சார் அந்த ஃபோன் அட்டன் பண்ணிட்டு நாளைக்கு ப்ரோக்ராம் இருக்கு பேசுவாங்க மண்ணு பையனா இருக்கான். Please wait. Participant, please wait.
Yeah, participant, please stay with us, please. Few minutes, please.
இப்போ ஒன்றும் தெரிய மாட்டேங்குது.
Hello. Yes, sir. Okay. Right. Okay. ஃபோன் வந்து அட்டன் பண்ண சொல்லுவாங்க. யார் கேட்பா, நாளைக்கு ப்ரோக்ராம் இருக்குல்ல கேட்பாங்கல்ல, மக்கள் இருக்கேன் என்ன கேம் பேச சொல்றேன் ஒன்று பேசுறாங்க. நாளைக்கு ப்ரோக்ராம் இருக்கு பேசிட்டு இருக்காங்க. Then we have to see that complex hypothesis. Sorry for disturbance. We have a system like hypothesis that is that one in which as relationship among variable exists. This type of dependent and independent variables are more than two. So when you apply for this complex hypothesis for dependent and independent variables is more than two, what do you say? For example, for when you apply for, there is no significant between, or there is no significant between, or instead of between, among. When you put this among more than two variables, for example, in the age of age groups, or for educationers, or income, and then we have to find some demographic variables, and we have to compare to this the satisfaction, the awareness, it may be for what you say that attitudes. Okay, so this is more than one variable, that is a between. When you move to this two more variables, instead of between you put among. So I frame the hypothesis, there is no significant difference among these two more variables. So dependent and independent variables. Dependent variables and independent. For example, for intellectuals, is for dependent variable. The persons studying, students are studying in this organization, institute, it depends with the parents. Then income group earners groups, what you call is independent. Okay, so that you have to analyze for that variables, which variables to depend, which variables are independent. Okay, some kind of organizational climate, organizational culture. Okay, or it may be for this emotional intelligence. What do you say that we have in finance, that size of the firm, or it may be for what do you say the sources of income. Okay, so it depends, and you have to find invariably, and to, for example, in case of motivations, to motivation analysis, and group dynamics. It may be for that complex, or it may be for leadership qualities. Okay, so if it depends upon its variable, then we have the complex phenomena, and to frame that relationship among the variable exists. So this very clearly is given. Complex hypothesis is that one is which has relationship among the variables. When you have the relationship among means more than two variables, we can apply for among. Okay, so when the relationship between means only one variable, one is dependent, one is independent. Please understand this point. Come to next, analytical hypothesis. So this hypothesis, we have to see that that is relationship between analytic variables. This hypothesis occur at the highest level of abstraction. So this specific relationship between changes in one property and changes in another. Changes in one property and changes in another. So this analytical hypothesis. For example, a study of human sexuality might show the empirical regularities by wealth, empirical regularity by wealth, education, region, and religion. Religion, education. Isn't it? So this is, we have the study of human fatality might show the empirical regularities by wealth, education, region, and religions. These are were raised to the level of ideal type, ideal type formulation. So this is, we have analytical hypothesis. When people are doing for that research, normally we are doing this analytical part, and we have to study these two high fatality population segments with regard to this in India, low income group and high income group. Low income as well as the high income. So low income, it may be some urban, some kind of, we have the people are low income, rural, low people, low income group people, and we have at the higher level system, we have to abstractions. That is called abstractions. Very important. Highest level of abstraction. Highest level of abstraction. So when you talk about this highest level of abstraction in analytical hypothesis, then we study about this low income group and high income groups. The low income group of this particular area, then people are low privileged, low underprivileged. High income group people may know for awareness. Okay, awareness of this. So we have to see that and to find out the area in which it has to be analytical hypothesis. This is totally for social related research, societal related research, and religion related research, Muslim and Hindus. Some Muslims may be for low income groups. Some Hindus also will have some low income groups. Analytical research, that is abstractions, the high level abstraction. Depends. So it depends upon the topic and title, then you have it. I mean, different types of hypothesis, the level of hypothesis depends. The effect of region, the effect of education and religion, and fatality might be held constant. Sometimes may be constant variable, independent variable, okay, multiple variables. So constant variables. Some variables may be more constant. Where maybe it may be for what I say is the region. Say for education. Education is constant for individual. Maybe for religion and fatality. All these things which comes under constant variable because of abstractions. So would allow a better measurement of the relations between the variables of wealth and the fatality. So the level of hypothesis is the most sophisticated mode of formulation and contribute to the development of what is a brilliant abstract theories. Okay, so this is there are more than 10 types of hypothesis. We have types. Next, source of hypothesis. The source of hypothesis we have can be derived from various sources: theory, observations, analogies, intuition, and personal experience. Okay, we have these, see that all these findings of studies, stage of knowledge, culture, continuity of research. Isn't it? So we have some kind of hypothesis. We have to find the sources. Theory, number one, theory, an assumption made before any research has been completed for the sake of testing. The theory, on this other hand, is the principle set of explained phenomena already supported by data. So we required for, before that we have some kind of backup theories is required. An assumption made before any research has been completed for the sake of testing. So this assumption, whether it is applicable or not, whether it may be for rejected or it may be accepted, or it may be true or it may be false. I told no, but type 1 error, type 2 error. Am I right? Either it may be accepted or rejected. Either 1.9% or 2.58%. So 5% level or 1% level. Rejection area, accept area. When is 1.9 is rejection, the remaining 99% is acceptable. Okay, so this is we have to find this theoretical view, this principal setup of experiment. From the next observations, the base of idea of hypothesis that there is no predetermined outcome. No predetermined outcome. There is no standard format. There is no standard results. There is no standard outcome. Okay, so it is depends upon the objectives and they have to formulating this hypothesis through the statistical tools. Then it keep on changing and varying, not for predetermined outcomes. Okay, so that is observations. Then analogies. Solve an analogy between the source case and the target case has two parts. Analogy like induction is principle of economy. Either made induction a starting point and principles are economic point. So this is analogy point when we have to starting. Then fourth one, intuition and personal experience involve generating the hypothesis from incoming sense data. Categorizations on concepts such as data are topically probabilities and uncertainty is the rule rather than the exception in learning, perception, language. So this is comes under this category for we have this intuition and personal experience and finding this. Next, findings of studies. The statement of expectation are predictions that will be tested by research. Before formulating a research hypothesis, read about this topic of interest, the research question, when stated as one sentence is research. So finding of studies, always it is formulated research problems and how you are going to solve the problem, and then through this finalization on definite results obtained. That is called finding of studies. The topic of interest, research question, because you have to asking for research question, then stated as one sentence is. Next, state of knowledge. Consideration of the information near us that anomalies state of knowledge. It is required. Some kind of knowledge is required. Important source of knowledge. The formal theories exist. Hypothesis can be detected, and if there is a hypothesis rejected, that kind of state of knowledge is why is hypothesis rejected, why is hypothesis accepted. The true is rejected, false is accepted. Isn't it? That is the case we have to find. There is no, because alternative hypothesis we have to find. And culture, cultural prime, what do you say, cultural prime of the research hypothesis and how culture drive expansions, underlines sociability and alter life history, social learning, more efficient than individuals than social explanations and learnings. So these are things is required for each and every aspects of the individuals, and you have to find an analysis. Okay. The next for that, what you say, that continuity of research. The research you have one of the most widely studied model of dreaming that pursues, and the research itself continuity as an important source of hypothesis. The rejection of some hypothesis leads to a formulation of new ones, capabilities of explaining dependent variable are subsequent research on the same subject. Maybe it is obtained for this. So these are the sources of hypothesis. Then the key functions of the role of the hypothesis. In social science research, we have some kind of functions. Then you have to formulate this hypothesis. Then you have to hypothesize several important functions. Hypothesis gives definite point to the investigations, and it gives guides the direction on the study. Because of without hypothesis, research become unfocused. For each and every researcher, I please have to appeal to all the researchers. Yes, then we have research as a researcher, you have to define definite point to the investigation. Investigation of the research only because of to guide the direction on the study. Without the hypothesis, the research become unfocused because it's a random empirical wandering. So this is a researcher would get what is say standard in the grassroots level, not knowing these directions in which to proceed. The hypothesis just direct our search for the order among facts. So this is most important for this that the function number one function. Number two, hypothesis specific source of data. It shall be studied and in what content they shall study. So it's the most important. Hypothesis is specific source of data. That source of data is primary or secondary source of data. It may be primary sources, we have to correct the information or collecting data. We have some kind of tools, data tools. That is questionnaire, interview schedule, mailed questionnaire, or telephonic conversation, observation, etc., etc. Okay, now is an online survey. So the hypothesis specify the sources of data. How you are going to, as a researcher, how you are going to collect the data in this primary information. First hand information, you have to collect this information through this first hand. Then through this now, because of the pandemic situation, you have to collect information through the mail. E-questionnaire, maybe it depends, or maybe for mailed questionnaire, or a telephonic information, or it may be for observation, or it may be individual. Okay, so which shall be studied and in what content they shall be studied, and then only source of data is primary, only source of data is secondary. Then as a secondary source of data, then you have to collect secondary information. How you are going to collect information? Through the standard textbook, magazines, journals, published and unpublished reports, website information, through this internet process, and and published reports, annual records. So this is case second sources. Okay, then some of the roles you have to satisfy under this on the role of hypothesis in research. We have points in which has to be gather this select this required facts, confirm the confirmations of theories, and then provides that framework for drawing these conclusions, direction of research, and because this act as this bridge, determine these types of data recorded. Everything should discuss it already. We have this role of hypothesis. Third point, it determines this data needs. It define which facts are relevant and which are not relevant. So, because of this determine the data circle, defining which facts are relevant. It is focused on relevant only. The relevant data informations or this thesis. After that, as an examiner, you have to be putting the point, positive point, merit points, outcome of the thesis. All this information are relevant to the topic, isn't it? So that is determined the fact is define which facts are relevant, which is or not. So relevant information alone. For example, in case of for studying of GST, then you take only for GST, isn't it? When studying for the yes, information is for CSR and corporate governance, compliance management, corporate restructuring, then published or banks, and only corporate restructuring through published or banks, you have to get the information only for published or banks, not for private sector banks, isn't it? Which is most relevant to this fact. Okay, then fourth one, hypothesis. This type of research is likely to be most appropriate. Likely to be more appropriate. This thesis we have to find which type of research is likely to be more appropriate. So we have to see that that kind of information. Hypothesis suggests which type of research is appropriate is to adapt and to take into consideration. And fifth one, it determines the most appropriate techniques of analysis. Appropriate techniques of analysis, then you have to find that appropriate technology, appropriate techniques of analysis. It is important. You have to apply for some advanced technical tools, statistical tools, then only that findings and to arrive this hypothesis. So each and every aspect you have to test the hypothesis only through the already told only through the statistical advanced tools. Then only this hypothesis will arrive. So arrive and to testify whether we have to prove whether it is relevant or not relevant, or it may be for it is comes under this type 1 error, type 2 error, or true or false information or true information. So this is that is called we have to type 1, type 2 error, and we have to find in this significant level, confidence level. Apply for confidence level. Why you are applying confidence level? Because of you have to for small region alone you have to be assumed to be rejection. Then majority levels are what you call accept, reject and accept. And only you have to apply for. Therefore, the level of confidence as a statisticians are fixed for two important 5% level and 1% level. 95% that is 19% only because of assumption purpose. Then we have hypothesis contribute to the development of theory. It links theory and investigation. Yes, theory as well as investigation. We have the development. Hypothesis may be detected from theory when it is tested through these studies and formed true and form part of this theory. So this is another important point. You have to touch upon this. The hypothesis contribute development theory. From this hypothesis, you have to contribute this theory. Then only you have to see that what is how. Then it is tested through the studies and formed. So these are the functions or all of this hypothesis. Characteristics of the Cook hypothesis. Characteristics of Cook hypothesis. Then you have to see that move too fast. A good hypothesis must be testable and falsifiable. A good hypothesis has characteristics such as must be testable, relevant to problems, topics, specific, and must be clear. We have conceptual clarity, specificity, testability, availability of techniques. So conceptual clarity is important for engaging a dialogue to avoid unnecessary disagreements and promote mutual understanding. We have to require specificity, the test accuracy at identifying this who do not have condition or characteristics, and we have to see that testability. So testability, the ability to run on experiment to test the hypothesis or theory. So testability. You have to test either Z test or T test or F test or chi-square test. Testability. So when you talk about this, what is called correlation, that is relationship. When you test about this, there is no association attributes. That is ANOVA. Then chi-square, there is no significant difference. The relationship, association, relationship, association, and what is called there is no significance. So this is we have to testability test for association relationship or maybe significant relationship. Like that we have to test it. And then availability of techniques. A good hypothesis guarantees that available tools and techniques will be effectively used for the purpose of verifications. So it is required for this theoretical relevance, consistency, objectivity, simplicity, actually. So all these things comes under this good hypothesis. You have to find an assumption made before any research has been completed for the sake of testing, and you have to theories on this other hand is principle set to explain the phenomena already supported by data. So theoretical relevance is most important. Theoretical relevance. So when you frame this objectives, then you have to test the hypothesis. So theoretical relevance important. Consistency procedures such as computing confidence intervals or conducting hypothesis tests is desired are best at the desired property of their behavior on this number of items. We have to say that interval, consistency intervals. It may be for that interval in this case of the freedom. Degrees of freedom you have to order. The row and column for when applying for the I-square test, the row and the column. Literate, illiterate, educate, uneducate, smoker, non-smoker, then boy and girl, then drinker, non-drinker. Then that kind of consistency and adapting for that interval, confidence level interval, then you have to adapting for the system. And you have to finally you have to test the hypothesis. Objectivity is an intent or a hypothesis what the researcher believes. Researcher may have a multiple hypothesis to achieve an objectivity. Objectivity and subjectivity, most important. Two important things, objectivity and subjectivity. Then you have what is the purpose you have to, subject you have to, what are the tools you have to apply, what are the informations you have to share. That is called variables. Simplicity. A good hypothesis must simple and have the complexity. So this is we have simple does not mean obvious. Simplicity demand insight, and we have some insights. This researcher has into the problems. Simpler will be this hypothesis about it. So it's not a simplicity means does not mean obvious. So simplicity demands insights. Most important. Good hypothesis we have clear conditions and assumptions like that we have to find. So these are these characteristics of a good hypothesis. So this statistical information you have to share already. This population sample size. Hypothesis testing too. I have to explain in detail some of the parameters like what I say. This very quick. What are procedure for testing hypothesis? Most important procedure for testing hypothesis, and then we have to set up this some kind of two-tiled, one-tiled test. Then we have to discuss the hypothesis test 2 on coming Friday. So this is the formulation we have to adapting for the hypothesis. So the statistical hypothesis we have to do for this. Like to things of statistical testing of data for analysis stage. This experiment we have to find in this system like this. As students, we have to find this what is called two-side alternative hypothesis. We discuss what is say testing a hypothesis 2. We have clearly have to stated for that with the help of analytical parts. Thank you. Any doubts with regard to this?
Sir, what is the degree of freedom, sir?
Hello?
Excuse me, sir. Hello. Good afternoon, sir.
Yes.
Sir, DF in hypothesis testing, degree of freedom. What is, sir, this?
Degree of freedom. You have to apply
Yes.
for degree of freedom, then you have to apply for row and column data. Then we have to find this column and multiply with this row. Finally, you have to apply. For example, literate and illiterate, and we have to find these two things. Maybe expected and observed frequencies. We have a 2 row, 2 column. Then
Yes.
we have to apply for 2 plus 2. Then apply the formula -1. Then you get it, what is it, 4 minus 1, 3. So degree of freedom is 3. From this, that confidence level and 5% level, either 1% level, significant, you can adapting for. And then refer the table. Refer the table, then you have to see the result. Then whether the calculator value is like this one or that one, calculator value is higher or higher than this table value, then you see the result. I told when the calculator value is more than the table value, the hypothesis are what you called rejected. Am I right? So this is we have to, therefore we are applying for the degrees of freedom. Under this chi-square test, under chi-square test we have done applying for this.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Yeah,
Sir, excuse me, sir.
yeah. Yes.
Sir, you are explaining about the relationship studies and association studies, or maybe testing.
Yeah, yeah.
What is the exact difference between relationship and associationship, and
Uh,
what type of test we can use for relationship, and what type of test we can use for association?
yeah. So research is required for that. That is a relationship between when you apply for correlation, there is a relationship between. For example, the income and expenditure, there is a relationship between. Sales and advertisement, there is a relationship between. Demand and supply, there is a relationship between. Okay. So in this case, you can apply for there is a relationship between. As a researcher, always you are picking up this the null hypothesis or and alternative hypothesis. But we have an n number of hypotheses. Say for I discussed already for this. Your question is now is clear. But when you apply for that association, that is ANOVA, or it may be for chi-square test, association attributes. When you talk about association attributes for this, that is association between. For example, like one way ANOVA, two way ANOVA, there is an association between these two. When you talk about this correlation and all this, that is a relationship. When you have a relationship, you have to adapt. Depends upon the that F test as well as these correlations, and sometimes but T test also.
Sir, if so, what is the difference between cause and effect testing, and what is the relationship testing?
Yeah, cause and effect. No, that is impact. So for example, as a researcher, you are going for agricultural research. In this particular period, rainfall is high. In a particular region, rainfall is high. For example, in Suvanga district, in a particular area, particular region, a particular period, that raining is more raining. Then what's the effect that when rainfall is heavy, then the cultivations are more. Isn't it? Cause and effect. So when there's a cause that is more raining, that cultivations are more. So impact. So cause and effect. That's a relationship. When we talk about this, that is stock exchange, stock indices for that implied volatility, sometimes maybe for a political scenario, that the stock price will come down. That time you have to, as an investor, to buy the shares. So cause and effect. Sometimes that cause and what is the impact for in case of social research, social science research for societal development, for that companies were contributing more. Company contributing more. There, for example, as a professor and corporate secretaryship, in CSR activities, 2% is compensated. 2% net profit compulsory contribute for CSR activities. According to Schedule 7 of the Companies Act, for eradication of poverty, sanitation, abolition of child labor, and for empowerment of women, like that, more than 10. So we have to contribute this more. The people are benefited. Society will be benefited. Cause and effect. So the cause means you are contributing. The effect means beneficiaries. This is cause and effect. You understand?
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. And one more small doubt, sir.
Yeah, your good name, please. You are from where? Hello. Hello.
Sir, I am from Kumar, sir. A small doubt, sir. Type 1, type 2 error you explained, and which one is more serious error and which one is less serious? And is there any mechanism to minimize these two errors, type 1 and type 2?
This is for assumption, actually. Kumar is an interesting question. This is assumption, but hypothesis always for assumption. Okay, solve how you are going to solve the problems. And then actually, why this hypothesis you have to test it, whether you have validity or not, whether you have to really to test it or not. That testing only for a short period, not for forever. Isn't it? Why you are studying for type 1, type 2 error? So we have two things: reject region, accept region. When in normal class, offline class, I would explain this picture and all. Then you have to apply for two things, two constant level. Level 1, level 2. One is 5% level. One is what is say 1% level. So 1% level we have the things we have to find 5%, 1% level. Then we have two types of error. Why you are studying for that? Actually, this is true. The picture is true. What they say when this calculator value is less than the table value, automatic hypothesis what that result it is a true one. Yes. So that table values were standard, predetermined, isn't it? Standard. When apply for the table value, that is a table values are predetermined standard value. Calculation value, it may be depends upon that. Values will keep on changing, not for standard. Then you have to compare. The calculator value is less than the table value. That result ultimately for this true. Actually, because table value for 5, for calculator value is 4, it is accepted. When you accept it is rejected. So when you reject it, the type 1 error. And also the false no error, because calculator value is less than the table value. I am saying calculator value is 5. My result is 4. Then here there is no error. I see as per the standard 5. I required 5, but as the result is 4. It's good, hold good. As a true, this is a type 1 error. So, but the result is rejected. See it. Likewise, similarly, then we have to more than the table. Calculator value is more than the table value. My prediction 5, but it extended more than the 5, 6. So in this way, that is called another that type 1 that value is true, but no error, but type 2 error. Automatically the result is accepted. See this small, very simple logic, very simple logic. The calculator value is less than the table value. It is true. That is a type 1 error. But that result is rejected. That's not is rejected. That we have no error. When you talk about this no error, it is a false. False. Isn't it? Alternatively is a false. Then when calculator value is more than the table value, that is for accept. But whereas no error, then false, type 2 error. So these are two things. Understand?
Yes, sir. Actually, my intention is which error is more serious.
No. Why you are applying for the two things, 1%, 5%? Because of you are having some kind of assumption and you have to adapting for that purpose. Assumption purpose alone you have to take. Predictions. And you told no predictions. Prediction of the researcher, prediction of the area.
Thank
You
you.
are asking, but not accurate. Yes.
Okay,
Thank you
sir.
very much, Professor.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yes.
Thank you very much, Professor. Thank you, Pramod ji. Thank you.
I have the opportunity for testing hypothesis 1. Small for power failure and maybe internet connection failure. Even though I have to, I think I hope and I think to satisfy that the participants.
Really,
Produce
Professor.
and all.
Really, it will be very
Thank
useful
you.
to participants, Professor.
Thank you very much. I thank the opportunity to our director, our professor, and the head, and coordinator, deputy coordinator, Dr. G. Nayamurthy, and all other faculty colleagues.
Thank you, Professor. Now may I request our Dr. Kirmaran sir to deliver a vote of thanks.
Sir,
Okay,
before vote of thanks, let me ask one more doubt, small doubt, sir. Please, pardon me.
Pramod ji,
Yes, sir.
Pramod ji, Professor is going
Yes.
to attend another meeting. If you have any clarification, please.
Then the entire doubts in the second rest level.
Please.
Ah.
Thank you. Please, Professor.
Yeah.
Okay. It's immense pleasure and privilege to propose vote of thanks to this post-lunch session. At the outset, let me record my sincere thanks to our beloved professor, uh, Professor Dr. Vedirajan sir, the Professor Head Department of Corporate Secretaryship, for his excellent presentation, and he's very elaborately presented his the topic hypothesis testing. I hope that everyone have enjoyed and everyone have cleared their doubt through their interaction. And I extend my sincere thanks to all the participants for your valuable presentation and participation and interaction with the source person. Thank you, one and all, for this nice opportunity. Uh, on behalf of the Department of Commerce and my own behalf, extend my sincere thanks to all. Thank you, one and all.
Thank you, Professor.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you, Professor. Thank you very much, Dr.
Thank
Singh.
you, Professor.
Thank you, Professor G. Nedumaran, given a free vote of thanks. I'm very amazed. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor.
Thank you all. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.